Hey, real estate investors. Welcome to Module 9, Remote Investing. This is one of those aspects of this business that you're going to get into at some point. If you keep doing this, you're going to get out of your local market and you're going to invest somewhere else in the country, somewhere where you can't drive to. If you can drive to it, it's not that remote, but if you have to fly there to get there, that's definitely remote investing. Now, remote investing is harder than doing it in your own backyard. There's two ways around it. It's harder. It takes longer. There's more that you have to do. And there's more that you need when you're doing it. It's not usually the starting point for most real estate investors. Now, if you live in a rural town in North Dakota, it might be your first step where you invest remotely. But most of us other investors everywhere else, we're within an hour or so drive of a major metro area, somewhere, remember, with over 100,000 people, preferably 1 million people. They're out there. There's plenty of cities of that size, which would be your local market. Now, remote investing is, again, I'm going to say it a lot of times in this. It's harder, and I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to make sure that you realize the truth of it, because a lot of real estate investment companies or training companies don't lay it out there like it really is. Oh yeah, you can flip houses anywhere, anytime, anywhere in the world. No, every country is different. There's all different laws and tax structures. We're talking about investing in the United States. And I'm not talking about, I was recently on a ski trip in Canada, and I was on my phone while I was on the lift going up, and I was answering one of my contractors about what we want to do with one of our properties. That's not remote investing. That's working on your project remotely, but remote investing is when that project is somewhere you have to fly to, somewhere that's out of your sphere of driving. So we talked about how to pick your markets, right? There's the market searches you do. You take a look and do your absorption study, see how many properties are available, how many have sold in the last 30 days. You check your days on market. You want to get into hot markets and hyper markets. That's where you want to be. And once you find a market, you want to stay in there. Once you show success in that market, keep staying in that market. I've known investors that have been active in 8, 9, 10 markets at a time, and they can't keep track of anything, and they're just doing one here and there. But all their projects are taking longer and longer and longer, because when you invest remotely, it takes longer. It's harder. If you build up a team in one market, find more houses in that market. They're going to be there. And if you're investing from coast to coast, meaning if you're in California and you're investing in South Carolina, 3-hour time difference, you're going to have to manage that. It sounds like a minor thing, but it really adds up. If you're doing conference calls with your contractor, or if you're doing video walkthroughs with your boots on the ground, that kind of stuff adds up. So remote investing, I'm saying it again, is more difficult than doing it in your own backyard. Because there's more work, there should be more profit. That, hands down. If you're looking at deals in your market and you can make $25,000 on this same deal, I'm going to look at another market, and that same type of project, I'm going to want $35,000. I'm going for 25% more profit if I'm going out of market, because I know it's going to take longer. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. It's going to be a little more time consuming, and I'm going to have more trust that I have to put onto people to make this project actually happen. I've remote invested all across the country. There's nothing wrong with it. I've made some really good money doing it. I've had some really stressful situations doing it too. And I want to make sure that you don't have those situations. So let me tell you about one of those situations I had and why I now have my rules to remote investing. It was one of my first projects I did in Florida. I live in Nevada, and I think it's something like 2,300 miles away, right? I'm not driving there. That's all you need to know. Found the property, comps, everything looked good. I bought it. Had a contractor lined up for it. He did the remodel on it. Got continual pictures from him. The real estate agent was helping out on it. She was taking pictures, and sending them to me, giving me updates on the property. She had the scope of work with the contractor, all of that. And I had her go do a final walk for me. And this is a few years ago, so I didn't really have too many video conference walk things going on then. But I'm on the phone with her as she's walking through the property. I'm telling her what to look for, where to look, because I've already done a bunch of flips in my local market kind of thing. And she's like, oh, this looks good. We found a couple problems. I had her testing the doors, making sure everything opened. The power was on, all that kind of stuff. Turning light switches on. Great. We sent the photographer out there, got professional photos. The house looked really good in the photos. We got showings and more showings and more showings. We dropped the price a little. We dropped it a little bit more. More showings. More showings. No offers. I'm 2.5 months into this listing. And I was like, what the hell is wrong with this house? Did I miss my number that far? I'm looking back at the comps again. No, we're priced below market at this point. I'm talking to the realtor. I'm like, what's going on? Why is this not selling? And she told me, if we drop it $15,000, I know we can sell it. What? Yeah, I mean, if we could drop it $50,000, I'm sure you could sell it too. That's not what we're trying to do here. So, dropped what I was doing. I flew out to Florida. I spent a couple days out there. Got to the property. Walked in the property, and I started looking around, and I started noticing all these things. Number one of the main things I remember on this experience, there were absolutely no shelves in the closets. I never had any pictures with shelves in the closet. All the closet doors were closed. I'm like, and the realtor was with me. I'm looking at her. I'm like, why don't we have any shelves? She goes, oh, well, I just thought that's how you finish properties. I look at her. I'm like, buyers want shelves in closets. It just makes sense. A closet, I mean, it's not, what are you going to do with it? So, she started feeling my concern for her job. I call up the contractor. He tells me, oh, well, a couple of those closets or a couple of the shelves were broken, so I removed them. Well, why wouldn't we put more shelves in, man? Like, what's the deal? I get into the kitchen. And above the stove, where you have your hood or your microwave, there was just an empty square rectangle up there. Nothing was in. Nothing was installed. Every photo I had was from this angle or from the opposite, this angle, not showing the space above the stove. Even the professional photographer is like, oh, I don't want that in the photo. I was like, why don't we have a stove or why don't we have a microwave? Contractor goes, oh, was it on the bid? I'm looking at the bid. Yeah, it's on the bid. I look at the realtor. I'm like, did you not see a problem with this? He goes, no, not really. Like, do you not realize why this house isn't selling? So there is a number of these other issues. But for a few $100s, and then some of my time, a couple days, so it ended up being a couple $1,000s for me to go fix this problem, fix these problems that I found. We took the property off market for a little bit while we fixed up the house, got these things done that needed to be done, put it back on the market at the same price. Boom, full price offer. Should I have dropped the price $15,000? I would have lost 12, 13 grand in potential profit on this thing. No, you have to be able to fix things as a remote investor. You have to be able to go to that property. But because of that experience, it brought up my 5 rules of remote investing. And number 1, you can't trust your realtor or your contractor to be your boots on the ground. I know I've said it through a lot of these video modules, boots on the ground. This is going to be a family member, a friend, another real estate investor that you've connected with, somebody that is impartial to the project so they can take a look at it. They're willing to spend that time with you, for you. They're going to go to the property once a week and do a video walkthrough with you for 5-10 minutes just to do progress updates. You'll get your progress updates from your contractor and your realtor, but your boots on the ground is somebody you can trust to tell you how it is. Now, remember when we talked about contractors and we talked about maybe opening up a wall. That's a decision. It might cost you a few grand to do that, depending on the wall. Your boots on the ground can be there and say, oh yeah, that's a great idea. That's going to completely change the house. It's going to be wonderful. Or, yeah, I don't think we need to do that, right? So, solid boots on the ground. Rule number 1, solid boots on the ground, not your realtor, not your contractor. Rule number 2, trust. You have to verify still, but you have to be able to trust people. It's tough, I know, and this is one of my rules because it's you don't want to get stuck micromanaging every single thing because it's so hard from distance. So you have to have some trust in people. You have to have a lot of trust in your boots on the ground, and that helps mitigate the having to trust everyone else so much on things. But you have to have trust, and not just that the work's getting done properly, all that, but you have to have more trust in your numbers, in your ability to determine ARVs, because this might be a market that you've never even set foot in yourself. So trust, you really have to have that. Communication skills too, because when you're talking with a contractor over the phone and you're telling them to do something, or you're telling your boots on the ground to do it, and then he's telling the contractor to do it, and it's just getting lost in this jumble. If you don't have good communication skills, it's just going to be a cluster, and that's not what you want. You want to be able to precisely tell people what they need to do. And video walkthroughs are awesome. And I'm not saying videotape something and then they send it to you. I'm talking live streaming video. There's a lot of different services out there. And you walk through the house with the contractor. He's going to show you, oh, look what we did over here. And you're going to say, hey, point it down to the bottom right. Let me see what that was. Okay. You can get to call them out on it. It's like you're there virtually. It's awesome. We do it now, and it's the way to do this business. But it all comes from your communication skills. Because sometimes you might even have to teach that contractor how to use that service, or your boots on the ground how to use that service. Or you're going to have to learn, and you're going to have to be able to understand what people are saying from distance as well. Number 4 for my rules, you have to have the ability to go to that project. I had to fly to Florida. Plane ticket, hotel, cost me like $1,500 or something like that for the 2 days. I was there for 2 days. I was able to leave where I was at and go there for 2 days and spend the money and the time to take care of the problem. If you're investing remotely, you have to be able to do that. You have to be able to do that. And number 5, more profit on the project. When I started investing remotely, I was looking at the same type of deals. But then I said, wait, after a few of these kind of things happen, like, well, we got to go bigger. We need 25% more profit is what I was going for on these. So again, I'm going to show you here the 5 rules of remote investing. And these are coming from my personal experience with this. Number 1, boots on the ground, somebody you can trust, somebody that's impartial, not the realtor, not the contractor. Trust. Trust in them, in you, in the numbers, in the property. Communication skills. You have to be able to clearly tell people what you need and want, but you also be able to understand what they're saying and what they need and want as well. The ability to go to the property. If you don't have that, you shouldn't be remote investing. It's simple as that. You should be able to go to the property. You don't want to have to, but you should be able to. And more profit, 25% more than your standard projects. It's that simple. I want more profit on these deals because it takes more work, more energy, more time. If my average deal takes 4 months in Nevada and my average deal on the East Coast takes 5.5 months, that's more time. That's more carrying costs. That's just more issues I have along the way, more problems that could occur. So more profit is key. Now, if you're partnering with somebody, all of this still applies. Just because somebody says that they're a real estate investor or an expert flipper, any of that kind of stuff, and they say something, you should still question it because they might not be the expert they think they are. You have a vast amount of knowledge from just watching these video modules and going through the flip tips and the homework assignments and looking over the forums and just being part of this network. And a lot of investors don't have this wealth of knowledge that you have. They've bought and sold a house or two, and then they say, hey, I'm successful. Come work with me. I know what I'm doing. But they might not know how to maximize profit. They might not have analyzed the ARV correctly. So don't just jump into bed with somebody because they say they're an expert. Verify, right? Trust, but verify. And don't jump into a whole bunch of remote markets at a time. I've said this before when we talked about analyzing markets. One, you do your home market and then another market. And if that market doesn't look good, then you go and look at another one. Don't spread yourself too thin. A lot of investors do it. It's so much time and energy to get yourself established in a market. One market at a time, one remote market at a time. That's the way to do it. And as you learn, you grow with this. You see what works. You see what you need to do, how you need to speak differently to contractors in a different market, what type of forms and contracts the contractor might use in Bellevue, Washington, instead of Columbus, Ohio. They might be a handyman versus a contractor. There's all different things that go on when you're doing remote investing. You learn if you need to put a refrigerator in this market or not. You learn if you should put carpet in the bedrooms or wood in the bedrooms. You find what the buyer preferences are. You find that by looking at your comps and talking to your realtors and learning about the market. But that all takes time. So the 5 rules that I learned from my experience investing remotely. I still invest remotely. I'm not afraid of it. But with these rules, I can mitigate any of those big problems that can happen. Boots on the ground, family member, friend, whatever it is, somebody that you met at a real estate investing club. It's great if you find somebody within this network or another real estate network out there that has knowledge and experience, and you guys can work together. But if you're in Toledo and they're in Houston, you guys shouldn't be investing in Los Angeles together. You want your boots on the ground to be in that city. Whoever you're partnering with should be there. They should have eyes on the project. Remember that. That's who you want to find as a partner. So boots on the ground, trust, but still verify everything. Video walkthroughs. Let me see those numbers. We still get the 3 quotes. We still get the 3 quotes from our agents when we go to sell the house. It's redundancy for safety. Because I don't want anybody to lose money in real estate. There's no reason for it. If you follow the system and you do what I tell you to, that it's going to protect you. So really look at this. Communication skills. You have to be able to communicate with people and understand what they're saying and make them understand what you are saying. It sounds simple, but it's a big part of remote investing because you're talking to people. They're not able to see you. And they're going to be thinking you're talking about one thing, but you're talking about another. Be very clear. Be very precise in what you need and what you want. You have to have the ability to go to the project. You don't want to have to do that, but if it's the difference between a $15,000 hit or a $3,000 hit, I'd rather take the 3 and still make profit on the deal. So you have to be able to go to the deal. And number 5, more profit on the project. Remember that. Bump up that project. More work should mean more money. It's simple. More work, more money. And I know I've said it in many of these modules. Share your success. When you sell a property, especially when you sell it remotely, it gives you so much more credibility. When I tell people that, oh yeah, no, I flipped a bunch of houses out in Florida and I live in Nevada, and they're like, wow, how'd you do that? Like, did you go move there for a while? No, there's ways to do this. The business still applies wherever you are, but you bump up a little this trust factor and the more people you have on your team and the profit lines you go for, and you can make this business work anywhere in the United States here. So share your success when you do these flips because wow, people are so impressed. There's a lot of markets out there. Not everyone's the right market for you. Take your time, do your research, and you're going to find them. And you're going to find multiple properties in this market. If you find one in a market, stay there, find more. connect with more people, grow. Don't jump to another market. Don't jump to another one. You guys can do this. You're real estate investors, and you can invest remotely. And I can't wait to see your successes. Good luck.